Okay, so, get this. We're really diving deep today. The Hobbit. But, like, not just the story everyone knows. We're going deeper.
Deeper than a hobbit hole.
Exactly. We're talking about the whole world Tolkien built, the languages, the history, all of it. And you know what's really cool? You've given us Tolkien's own note on the text to dig into.
Most people skip right over that.
I know, right? But it's like a backstage pass to his brain. You see how The Hobbit went from this, well, children's book to this foundation for something way bigger.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
he had this whole world in his head, and The Hobbit was just the beginning.
Totally. And the note on the text shows that. I mean, he actually went back and revised The Hobbit later on.
He wasn't content just leaving it be. He was already connecting it to The Lord of the Rings.
Right. It shows how much thought he put into everything. And we see that even before those revisions, like right from the start. Take the runes, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he just casually throws in this whole system for understanding them.
It's incredible. He invented a whole language system just for this book. It blows my mind.
It shows how real he wanted to make this world. And it's not just for show. Remember that scene with the moon letters?
Yeah, Thror's map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That whole thing with Elrond deciphering them, that wasn't just a cool moment. Tolkien planned that level of detail from the get-go.
See, this is what I'm talking about. And it just gets richer as you go. Even the way he describes a hobbit hole in chapter 1.
It's so vivid, you can practically picture it.
Right, all cozy and underground, but like you said, vivid. But it's not just about being cozy, is it? It tells you something about hobbits themselves.
Definitely. The way Tolkien describes it, all the rooms on one level, it's like they're content to stay grounded.
Not exactly known for their adventurous spirit.
Exactly.
Which is what makes Gandalf's arrival so much fun. I mean, talk about shaking things up.
Tales and adventures sprouted up all over the place wherever he went.
Exactly. Tolkien builds up this anticipation before Gandalf even shows up. You're just waiting for things to get wild.
And they do, as soon as those dwarves show up.
Oh man, 13 dwarves show up and suddenly Bilbo's quiet life is out the window.
It's brilliant, though, that whole scene. Tolkien just throws them right into the chaos. You've got dishes being smashed, songs being sung.
It's hilarious. But at the same time, there's that hint of danger, right? Like, this is serious business, even if they are singing about smashing dishes.
Oh, yeah, Tolkien's really good at that, isn't he? That blend of humor and foreshadowing, I guess.
Totally. It makes you wonder, is all this chaos a sign of things to come? And then there's that song, the one about their lost home in Erebor.
Now that's where Tolkien starts to pull at your heartstrings.
Right. Suddenly it's not just about a fun adventure anymore. You get this sense of loss, this longing for something they've lost. It gets real.
It does. And Tolkien's clever about how he connects it to Bilbo. He even points out that it stirs up his Tookish side.
He's torn, he wants the adventure, but he's also terrified.
And that inner conflict, that's going to drive him for the rest of the story.
Totally. But it's more than just Bilbo's story, right? Tolkien's laying down the foundation for this whole world.
Exactly. And that's where Thorin's tale comes in. It's like Tolkien's giving us a history lesson, but making it feel like a campfire story.
Yeah. He drops us right into this epic history of the dwarves, Smaug, the fall of Erebor, and you realize, this is serious stuff.
It's not just backstory. It's setting the stage for everything that follows. But Tolkien, being Tolkien, he tucks in these little details that make you think.
Like what?
Well, remember how Thorin describes their lost kingdom? He talks about the toy market of Dale, the wonder of the north. It makes you wonder.
What's that?
Well, was Smaug just drawn to the treasure itself? Or was there something about the dwarves, their love of gold, that attracted the dragon in the first place?
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that. It makes you question, are they really just victims in all this? Or did their own desires contribute to their downfall?
See, Tolkien does that. He makes you think.
He really does. And as soon as they leave the Shire, the world just opens up, doesn't it? It's like stepping into a different reality.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And with each step, each encounter, the stakes just get higher. It's like you step out your door and bam, trolls.
Right. Talk about a rude awakening, and you'd think dwarves, these tough warriors, they'd be ready for anything, but
They practically panicked.
I mean, they were about to be troll stew. It's a good reminder, though, isn't it? Even the bravest people get scared sometimes.
Absolutely. It makes their escape even more satisfying, though. Gandalf's quick thinking, Bilbo using his wits.
It shows that brains can be just as useful as brawn, especially in Tolkien's world.
For sure. And speaking of wits, think about their encounter with Elrond.
In Rivendell.
Yeah. He's not your typical elf, hanging out in the trees playing music. This guy's seen some things.
Right. He's got this whole aura of wisdom and Maybe a bit of sadness, too. You can tell he understands what they're up against, maybe even better than the dwarves do.
Definitely. Especially when he sees that map. But show me now your map. He's not messing around.
You can practically hear the weight of ages in his voice. Like he knows this quest is more dangerous than they realize.
And then, well, there's that whole detour with Gollum.
Ugh, don't even get me started on Gollum. Creepy a little.
It's a defining moment, though, for
Yeah.
Bilbo, for the ring, for everything that comes after.
It really is. And those riddles, Tolkien's really touring with us there.
Oh, totally. It's like he's giving us a glimpse into Gollum's mind, how the ring is twisting him.
It made a noise like a choking frog.
Ah,
Just creepy. And right after that, we get Bjorn. Talk about a complete 180.
Bjorn's something else. He's wild, untamed, totally unpredictable. You don't know if he's going to hug you or eat you.
I mean, he's a bear, or a man, or both. It's never really clear.
That's what makes him so interesting, though, right? He's a reminder that there's still a lot of wildness in Middle-earth, things that don't fit neatly into categories.
Definitely. But as wild as Bjorn is, I think Mirkwood takes the cake for me.
Oh, it's creepy. Tolkien really knew how to build atmosphere. You feel lost just reading about it.
The forest goes on forever and ever and ever in all directions. You said it. It's like the trees themselves are trying to swallow you whole. And those wood elves, they're not exactly welcoming.
Nope. Not these guys. They're more interested in keeping their secrets than helping a bunch of lost dwarves.
It's easy to forget that not everyone in Middle-earth is rooting for the good guys. And, well, those elves definitely aren't rooting for anyone but themselves.
True. But hey, if they hadn't been captured, we wouldn't get that amazing escape scene.
The barrels. Genius. Who would have thought Bilbo Baggins would be the mastermind behind that?
He's full of surprises, isn't he? And the song the elves sing as they drift down the river.
Down the swift dark stream you go, back to lands you once did know.
Uh,
It's like even in the middle of danger, there's this sense of hope. Like the river is carrying them towards something better, even if they don't know it yet.
it's a nice touch. And it leads them right to Lake Town, which, well,
Let's just say they're not exactly welcomed with open arms, at least not by everyone. The master of Lake Town, no, he's a piece of work.
he's a little too comfortable, isn't he? More worried about his own skin than helping anyone else.
And he calls himself a leader.
He's got his priorities all wrong. But here's the thing. Even in a place like Lake Town, so focused on money and stuff, the story of the dwarves, it still means something.
Yeah, it's like those songs about Erebor. They spark something in people, like Bard, for instance.
He's different, more than just a grumpy old archer, that's for sure.
He's got this sense of duty, this willingness to do what's right, even if it means facing a dragon.
Which begs the question, what would we do in that situation?
Seriously, dragon shows up at your door, what's your next move?
Right, it makes you think. But, I mean, they do defeat Smaug. Eventually.
Yeah, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows after that, is it?
Not exactly. They get their treasure back, sure.
Yeah.
But that's when things get really complicated.
Talk about an understatement. It's like that whole be careful what you wish for thing.
Oh, totally. The dragon sickness, it doesn't just go away.
Thorin definitely catches a bad case of it.
He gets so obsessed with the gold, with holding onto it, that he forgets what really matters.
And that's where Bilbo steps up. Taking the Arkenstone, trying to stop a war.
He really comes into his own. It takes courage to stand up to a dwarf, let alone a king.
He's a completely different hobbit from the one who left the Shire, that's for sure.
Well, that's what adventures do to you, right? They change you.
And wow, what an adventure it is, the Battle of Five Armies, that ending.
Bittersweet, isn't it? So much loss, even in victory.
It makes you wonder, was it worth it? All that for a pile of gold.
That's the thing about Tolkien. He doesn't give you easy answers. He wants you to wrestle with those questions, to think about the cost of everything.
And he doesn't shy away from the sadness either. Thorin's death always gets me.
Me too. But there's still hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bilbo goes home. He finds peace.
And he's got those kind words from Gandalf to remember. You are a very fine person, Mr. Baggins, and I am very fond of you. It's enough to make you tear up a bit.
It is. And that last song, the elves singing Why Go A-Roaming, it just sticks with you.
It really does. It makes you think about your own life, your own journeys. What are we all searching for? And what are we willing to sacrifice to find it?
Big questions. But that's the power of Tolkien, isn't it? He makes you think about these big ideas, even in the middle of a story about dwarves and dragons.
He really does. Well, this deep dive has definitely given me a lot to chew on. It's amazing how much depth and meaning Tolkien packed into this one story.
It's a story that stays with you, that's for sure. And it makes you want to go back and explore more of Middle-earth.
Definitely. It makes you realize The Hobbit is so much more than just a children's book. It's a story about courage, about greed, about the power of friendship, about finding yourself in the most unexpected places. And it makes you appreciate the power of stories themselves, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And with that, we come to the end of our deep dive into The Hobbit. We've journeyed through treacherous lands, faced fearsome creatures, and uncovered hidden depths in Tolkien's world. But just like Bilbo returning to the Shire, we hope you carry a bit of that magic with you.
We've only scratched the surface of this incredible world, so until next time, keep exploring.